and they just roam around. And you can, in fact, a large number of them are caught by doing small time theft and dacoity and etc. It's a great social problem. And to them, they will get money and then they will hire a taxi and come to Bombay and to bar and whatnot. It's a very strange process that is happening all over the country. Around 260 million people in India, or 1/4 of the population, live on rupees 50 per day or less. This is in my Phaltan, every day there's a 4-hour shortage. There's 4-hour electricity outage, and just 5 to 10 kilometers out of Phaltan town are the villages where they get 12 to 18 hours of electricity. I think just going and living for a day will give you an idea that how great a life in Bombay is when there's not a single second. I'm a member of MERC advisory committee. So just in the morning, the whole day we were sitting in an MERC, and I was hammering, and ND Patil and myself were the only two people from rural India, and nobody takes care of our problems because these are all problems of Bombay and other places. And so how open access and etc. take place, but what happens to rural India, nobody talks about. But this is the tragedy and this is the fact of life. Poverty in rural areas has resulted in huge number of farmer suicides. In the last 10 years, around 150,000 farmers have committed suicide. Besides the poverty, is the poor support price, increased input costs and aspirations. And I'll tell you a very interesting thing about what the agriculture can do later on. And also there is no long-term agriculture policy. We have a lot of commissions which have been set up by the Agriculture Ministry, but really down to the grassroots, on the ground, policy does not exist. And this is something which is lacking. Besides, there is a serious energy crisis in India. In rural areas, an average consumption is 60 kilowatt hour per year. 60 kilowatt hour per year, to give you a feeling for that, it translates into 7 watts. In a 7 watt per person in rural areas, you can't even light a small CFL lamp. There's no electricity. This is an average because the government of India loves these averages. So the Planning Commission puts out these numbers and then you divide by the total number of people in the rural areas and that's you get an average. It doesn't show that 60% people don't have electricity. So this is the state of affairs. Human Development Index is directly proportional to the electricity. In fact, there is a direct correlation with that. The higher the electricity consumption is, the higher is the Human Development Index. And for a good quality of life, you require 3,500 kilowatt hour per year. So 60 times more electricity is required. That will take in almost 500,000 crores rupees to put that electricity. This is the government of India's Planning Commission numbers. Nobody has the money. They want the private partners to come in. They are not putting enough money for that, not enough incentive. So we are going to just bumble around and ultimately we hope that something will happen. Last year we imported 3 lakh crores worth of petroleum products. With the rate of growth which is going at 8 to 9%, there is a huge consumption. It will continue increasing. And where is the petrol going to come? The type of situation that is existing all around us is going to have in fact, I believe that the future war, the Third World War, will take place because India and China will consume all the petroleum products of the world. And how we are going to sustain is a very serious situation. 6% of our GDP is what we are spending on this importing. I'm just giving you an example of the things which is possible, which I am going to show in my thesis, that it is possible to produce a major chunk of this energy in rural areas and to create wealth in rural areas by producing that. Most of these problems have come because of the non-governance. India is endowed with a fantastic amount of brain. After all, we are the same people who do wonderful. Half of the Silicon Valley is owned by Indians. Mr. Bill Clinton was so surprised when he found out that half of the Silicon Valley is owned by Indians and most of them are from I.I.Ts. So he said, this is something very funny when he came to know about it. And yet we do wonderful things when we go to abroad, but somehow the system does not allow us to do the same things here. And this is something which I think all the young people should, and I think that they are looking for role models, and I think it is in our interest to provide them that there is something more to look forward rather than just going for IT and etc. And governance is the first casualty of corruption. We are a very corrupt society. And the first thing that happens is when the corruption takes place is governance. because nobody is interested in really the future of the country or the region. They are only interested in their pocket. And when that happens, in fact, when Gandhiji gave a very great talisman. The talisman was that do anything, but think about that Daridra Narayan, and whatever action you do, just think that we should be helped. Today we have a new talisman. Think about your pocket. Do anything that you should do so that it helps in your pocket. The country can go to hell, others can go to hell, but how we create money. But that's my pet. And also because of centralized control, both in governance and energy, that this is what has come. In fact, in 1977, there was a person called Ilya Prigogine. He got the Nobel Prize for chemistry, and one of the reasons why he got the Nobel Prize in chemistry was he developed a whole mechanism by which he developed structures. These structures, for example, like in a glass of water, if I heat the water from below, after some time the convection currents develop. The cold water from the bottom goes to the top, and the hot water from the bottom goes to the top, and the whole thing connects. So these convection cells were called as dissipative structures. They dissipate heat from bottom to the top. I consider societies as dissipative structures. Depending upon the quality and quantity of energy that you put in the society, you will develop the society. When we developed a society based upon the Western model, it was based upon very high intensity energy. Petroleum, coal, these are centralized energies, very high energy intensity energies. So we developed a very high centralized structures of our society. Renewable energy, which is decentralized, which is available all over the world, at all the places like sun, biomass, etc., will lead to a decentralized, much softer society. And that is what I believe that is what has happened, because when you have the centralized system, you control. Today, the most important thing is the control. Every time. The rulers like to control. And when you control, naturally you can do a lot of things with that control. And that energy and governance all provide that. And that is what we have come to that. With proper governance, one of the best technological solutions, according to me, is energy production via agriculture and renewables. And this is our thesis, that how agriculture will provide not only food but energy. So food and energy security are the two most important things which is going to make any country great, and that will come from rural areas. This will provide rural wealth and create employment. And with 60%, besides the wealth, the most important thing that I see is 60% of these rural poor coming in mainstream of development will provide us a huge intellectual capital. This is something which is will be like a flower, which will be like just booming. The economy will not only boom by the wealth that we create, but by the intellectual wealth. Because when these people, they all have the same number of neurons that you and I have, and when they come into mainstream, we'll have a huge production of people who are intelligent and who can do wonderful things. India then can become an economic superpower, and that's a dream that I have, and I'm sure that one day it will come realized. How can it happen? The most important thing is energy. Energy is the basis of life. From it flows everything else. In fact, all socio-economic, political, everything flows from energy. Without energy, we are all dead. In fact, the life came because of the energy that came from the sun. It improved, it worked on the chemicals available at the time, and that produced life. And so energy is the basis of everything. India produces 600 to 1,000 million tons of agriculture residues. This is a part of agriculture. As we are becoming more and more agriculture country, we will be producing more residues. In fact, it's a very interesting thing, and I'll talk later on. How many of you are farmers? Oh, Mr. Kore is one of them. The real funny part is that only 25 to 40% of the produce produced by in agriculture fetches you money.